Okay, we left off on Nun Vav on the days. The Gemara had said that, the Mishnah had said that if you Mekadosh a woman, Shura Niskol, she's Ein B'Gudesh and Sisura No. So the Gemara had cited a Posuk. How do we know that you're not permitted to benefit from the flesh of the animal that's stoned, even if it's slaughtered? Even if it's slaughtered. So the Gemara goes and says, because it says, the Torah says, Lo ye'ochel es b'soro. So we quoted Reb Avo named Reb Lozer. Then whenever the Torah says Lo yochalu, sochalu, sochlu, it means both Isra Achila, Isra Hanor. So it says you're not permitted. Samara, we're holding over here. So if we according to Reb Lozer, Omer Reb Avo, of Ravo, Omer Reb Lozer, so what does it have to say? Balashar Noki, 2, 4, 6 lines from the bottom. If you say Lo Sochal, Lo Yochel means only Isra Achila, right? So therefore we need Balashar Noki to say you've been cleaned, you've been stripped of your possessions. So that means you're not permitted to benefit from it. But if we're saying when the Torah says Lo Yochal, it means Isra No, what is the meaning of Balashar Noki? What is the meaning of that? It seems to be superfluous. So Mar says, La Nos Oro, that you would think that only it says Lo Yochal B'Saro, you're not permitted to eat its flesh. But what about the hide? Right? The hide you could benefit from. So Lo Yochal Es B'Saro. See, B'Saro also Oro Muter. The flesh you're not permitted, that's Lo Yochal, means what's edible, right? But what? The hide, yes. So therefore, Balashar Noki means no, it's a total loss. Not only is the flesh you're not permitted to benefit from, you're not even permitted to benefit from the hide. How means benefit? Lo Yochal. Lo Yochal is Isra on the board. It says Lo Yochal es B'Soro. No, so I'd say it's limited to the flesh. Balashar Noki. Yeah, it is not. But what does it say? Lo Yochal. It says Lo Yochal es B'Soro. Sokol Yisoka Lo Yochal es B'Soro. What does that mean? It should be stoned. Don't eat its flesh. So what's the connotation of that? What about its hide? Could you eat the hide? You can't eat a hide. Hide is not edible. So that means what are you not permitted to benefit from? From the flesh. But the hide you would be permitted to benefit from. Therefore it says Balashar Noki, even the hide you're not permitted to benefit from. According to Reb Avo or Reb Loser. So therefore that we had earlier, because I would say even if he does an action which permits meat to normally be eaten, meaning he preempted the court before it was stoned and slaughtered, right? Even you're not permitted to benefit either. Right. No, that's the Besoro. Besoro. It should say Lo Yochal. That's what it says. Let's say, what do you need? Es Besoro. That even if as you normally would through Shechita, it's still not. So, okay. So what do we need? Balashar Noki. The answer is, but that's only Besoro. That's what's edible. What about the hide? It's unrelated to the Besoro. On that, the Gemara says, that's Balashar Noki. So the Gemara asks, Ulahanach tanoi demafkile hai Balashar Noki l'chatzi kofer. Ulidmei velodos. Hanos or minolu. Now, there's an interesting question. We just began this a little bit. If a person goes and injures a person and he loses the usage of an arm, what is the value of damages? So the Gemara says that you evaluate him as an Evet Kanani, as a Canaanite slave, and what is a slave worth on the market? With 2 hands? With 1 hand. So you deduct the value, the difference between the 2 slaves. That you're paying for the value of the arm itself. Right? So that's value. It has nothing with kapora. It's purely restitution. That's yad tachas yad. What's yad tachas yad? Value. right? What about if your ox kills a person, and now you have to pay? You pay for the value of the person. What is that? Is that restitution, or is that kapora? The Gemara has a question. Is it kufra kapora or kufra mamona? Right? It says kofi yishali. There's a question what it is. Okay, I'm not going to... The ox killed. The ox killed the person too. No, so then of course you don't pay anything. If you're forewarned, then you put to death. And if it's inadvertent, then it depends how it's done. You go to Ori Miklot, right? And you go to Ori Miklot. Okay, so it says, mean you would think, when do you have to pay kofir? That's only if the animal is a muad. You should have watched the animal. It was a gorer, and because as a result of not watching it, it killed the person. So then you have to pay the value of the person. So you would say, what about if it's a tam? If it's a docile ox, it hasn't been established as a gorer. Let's say kills a person. What does one normally pay if a non-gorer damages? Chatzi kofir, chatzi nezik, right? So maybe you should pay chatzi kofir, just as a muad pays the full value of the person. Maybe the tam that kills, you should pay 50% of the value of the person. Whatever. So the Gemara says, these Tanoim said, Balash or Noki, no, you're exempt. It's only by muad you have to pay value, but if it's not a muad, it's not a gora, you pay nothing. So that's Balash or Noki, meaning you're free of the debt. You don't have to pay the debt. Now the next one is what's a little chiddush. The Torah says if two people are fighting, and one wants to strike the other and accidentally hits a pregnant woman, and then as a result of the injury, she miscarries. So the damager, what does he have to pay? So he has to pay the fetuses, the value of the fetuses, to the father of those unborn children. So how do we understand that? Sure. Right? The fetuses belong to the father. As a result of that, you pay the value. If you have a pregnant slave woman, what is she worth with pregnant? What's the value on the market without carrying children, a child in her womb? That's how you make the evaluation. So you'd say, if you're ox a person and causes injury, right? The owner of the ox has liability. He has an obligation of restitution. So let's say the ox gores a woman and causes her to miscarry. What would you say? You should have to pay. That's your asset causes damage. You should have to pay, right, for the fetuses. The Torah says, Balashar Noki, that in regard to the fetuses, if the reason why the cause of the miscarriage is the goring, he doesn't pay for what? For the unborn children. No, muad, regular gorer. He didn't kill the woman. It's a moment hamazik. If your ox goes and gores another person's ox, do you pay full value? If it's a muad, you pay full value. Because moment hamazik, when your money damages, it's like you damaging. You have full liability. So here, if you would hit the woman and cause her to miscarry, you pay for the value of the fetuses. So your ox, if it causes the woman to miscarry, it's moment hamazik, you should pay. But yet, the Torah says, Balashar Noki, that you don't pay. Why? I mean, what's the difference between the fetuses and the woman? If the ox causes her to lose usage of her hand, you pay for the hand. Because that you're a damager. You're responsible for the damages of your ox. So if you, factually, I mean, the fetuses have value. So if the fetuses have value, why should the Torah, I mean, how do we understand, why shouldn't you have to pay for the fetuses? Factually, on the slave market, she's worth more with pregnant than not being pregnant. But yet, he learns that what? Dmei velodus. Im noga fi shor of yotzil, the enu mishalim dmei velodus. Labal kmo she'odem nogev mishalim k'dichsiv onesh yonesh. So I was thinking, it's unclear from the Gemara. Now, the question is, when you pay for the fetuses, who do you pay? You pay the father of the children. Maybe, if the ox damages, maybe you pay damages. But you don't pay for the what? you don't pay the father. Maybe that's what you would say. There's a chiddush. And factually, the fetuses, they're unborn. So if the Torah wouldn't say you pay the father, you'd think you'd pay the woman. It's part of her body. She's worth more, she's worth less. Correct? So the chiddush is, but if an ox causes that damage, you pay, but you don't pay the baal. You don't pay the father. But that's not the connotation of the word. It says baal asher noki. Noki means the one who owns the ox, he's absolved. He's fully absolved. Yeah, well, what would the svar be? It seems it's moment amazik. I mean, the fetuses have value. It's moment amazik. Chiddush HaTorah. Chiddush, I don't know why. No, I saw it over there. Doesn't explain why. It's Kosov. Trying to put in some. If it's damages, it's damage. See, the fact is, for whatever reason is, Moment Mazik is a Chiddush HaTorah. Right? It says grama. Your asset caused damage. Torah says no. That if you have responsibility to watch your animal, any damage comes as a result of your animal, you have liability. If it's a gore, you have full liability. Okay? So if that's it's a Chiddush. For some reason, the Chiddush only goes so far, but not in regard to the fetuses. Don't know. No, she didn't die. She didn't die. No. Kimla Drem is only death. She dies. If she dies, you pay nothing. Here, that's dying is where the mother dies. Okay? Okay? So now we have a question. So Bala Sharnoki we're using for to absolve the owner of the ox from Chatzi Kofer. From the hide. Correct? Because the Pasuk, Lo Yochal Es Besoro, the hide is not the flesh. So how do we know, according to this opinion, this opinion that the hide is Asab Hano, Hano Sora Minole? Of course, they use it for these two issues. On that, where it says Me Es Besoro. What's Es? Es Atofel Besoro. Tofel means what's secondary to the flesh. Right? Es is always an adjunct. Something that's associated with the flesh. So what's associated with the flesh? That's the hide. So the hide is similar to the flesh. As you're not permitted to benefit from the flesh, you're not permitted to benefit from the hide. Nobody. There's no such opinion. Correct. It's to say Lo Yochal Besoro. What's the S Besoro? Even the S has the same status as Besoro. Okay? Somewhere says V'yidoch. So the one who learns from Balashor for the hide, so what is S is superfluous. Somewhere says Es Lo Dorish. Interpret S. S doesn't necessarily have to allude to anything. Doesn't have to allude to anything. Kiddushin, very famous statement in the Gemara. Shimon Amsuni, it was a person's name. The other say was the Suni. Evidently they came. Well, I'm interpret. This what could we do to Hashem? That Hashem wants you. This confirmed to him that the S should not be interpreted. Pirish. So what? Meaning, I confirmed to him. Interpretation S is not. His throughout the Torah, because of when he came to the Torah, he says this confirms as is not connoting speech. So Shimon Amsuni said to his Talmidim, "Kshem kibal kach kibal." Hear this? Just as I received reward for the drisha, for interpretation, for delving into it, I have no less reward for retraction. Okay? Nobody's saying he's Mekabel Schal HaPrisha. Admitting that you're wrong. No, but now that he was wrong, what does he receive reward for the drisha? Evidently, it's been revealed. Everything was an act of futility. It was nothing. Because that's where you learn. That's always mentioned from the Maral. What's the nusach of the bracha? Lasuk b'divrei Torah. Why isn't it Lilmo Torah? So that's exactly what the Maral says. Because if it would be Lilmo Torah, you say to a person, what did you learn today? He says, I've been struggling with this for 3 weeks. I haven't learned a word. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on. Do you get credit for Limanat Torah? So he says, the Maral says, one doesn't understand something instantaneously the moment you learn it. You have to apply yourself. You have to think. So you mean until you actually come upon the truth, you receive no credit? The mitzvah is lasuk b'divrei Torah. It's to engage. It's the process of try to understand. The end result, of course, is the ultimate. That it should come to a conclusion. But if you don't, okay, we have teiko, tishbi Torah skushas abayis. Sometimes we have anything unresolved. You have to wait for Eliyahu Novi to resolve it for us. But the mitzvah is hisaskus. It's the engaging. It's the process of studying. That's what it is. Everything. He was tracking everything. Because this was a confirmation. Because this S cannot have. There's no equivalent of God Himself. So you see, it's a manner of speech. So therefore, all the S that he interpreted, also maybe if it's a manner of speech, it doesn't prove anything. He came up with in understandings something that has a semblance of what the S is associated with. That's the adjunct. But you see clearly here, there's no adjunct to God, because there's nothing's the equivalent of God. Correct. There can't be. Here he said there can't be. Achaba Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva was bold. Until Rabbi Akiva came. The S comes to include that Hashem wants you should revere the Talmud Chacham no less than you revere him. No, then everything was reinstated. This was the basis for the refutation. But now that Rabbi Akiva gives us an understanding, so again, there's a morale on this. Why does Hashem want you? He says it's not understandable. It can't be. What could be the equivalent of revering God? So he explains, the morale, that the Rambam rules. I'm just giving you some background to appreciate the morale's answer. The Rambam says that a Rebbe, when he teaches Torah, he cannot act with the students in a frivolous way, because they're not going to respect him sufficiently. He should not eat with them. He should not drink with them, because they will not revere him sufficiently. Because based on the degree of reverence, that's going to be the degree of attentiveness and to what degree they're going to value his teachings. The greater they revere him, the greater effect will his teachings, and the more receptive they will be to his teachings of the Torah. So the Maral says that why does Hashem want you to revere the Talmud Chacham no less than himself? Because the only way you could revere God is only through the Torah itself. That's the only way. That is the vehicle. So therefore, you have to revere the Torah. You have to value it, to be attentive and to understand it and internalize it. Only then will you revere God. And since the vehicle to that is the Talmud, is the teacher, is the Talmud Chacham, therefore it's Hashem Elokech Tira l'Rabbos Talmidei Chachamim. Once mentioned, the Rav Chaim Volozhiner, he had a son. His name was Yitzchok. So when his son was 10 years old, he never met the Vilna Gaon. Never met his father's Rebbe, and the Rav Chaim Volozhiner was the closest Talmud of the Vilna Gaon. So he said to his father, he says, and Vilna Gaon was still alive. He says, "When are we going to visit the Rebbe?" He was 10. He never met. So the moment he mentioned, he says, when I would visit the Rebbe to his father started to tremble. You understand? Started to tremble. This is Es Hashem Elokecha Tira. We can't even relate to this. You understand? When you stand in the presence of the Vilna Gaon, you could tremble. You would tremble if you understood who the Vilna Gaon was. But here, it's not in his presence. He himself hadn't seen his Rebbe maybe in a year. But just the thought of thinking about him, he starts trembling. So if you tremble about the Rebbe, so when we think about God, Hashem Sosai Tiftach, you enter into the audience, the person should tremble. Right? You should. But we don't. So that tells us how far removed we even have any relevance to what true reverence is. Right? We speak Yiras Haromamus, fear out of his exaltedness. We have no relevance to that. Don't know. Who does he bring that in the name of? Amar. No. I mean, I hear it. No, I know, because. Evidently, Reb Kiva felt it was a reflection on him. If they would have understood the Torah sufficiently, they would have absorbed it as they should have, then they would have acted to one another. I always said, you can't look. The Gemara says the reason why 24,000 Talmud Reb Kiva died during this 33-day period, they didn't treat each other with sufficient respect. It's not they would disrespect them. How do you understand it? We're talking about Reb Kiva's Talmidim. And if it's Reb Akiva, he should have reprimanded them. And definitely he engaged with them continuously. So how do we understand it? You see these people. They don't teach them derech eretz. What do they teach in the yeshivas? Torah without derech eretz. So the way I understood it is this way. There's an obligation. You have to honor and revere a Talmud Chacham. Let's say you have two levels of Talmud Chachamim. Let's say you have Rav Moshe Feinstein and you have present-day Talmud Chacham. And you accord the same honor to both of them. And there's an obvious difference between the two of them. Have you fulfilled your obligation of revering a Talmud Chacham if you accord the same respect to Rav Moshe as an ordinary Talmud Chacham? The answer is not. He's a different dimension Talmud Chacham. Correct? Therefore, you're falling short of offering proper reverence for the greater one. Okay? Let's say no two Talmidei Chachamim of the same level. He had 24,000 Talmidim. And they were exceptional. But you understand, within that, the various classifications, the gradations of Talmud Chacham. So if each one did not accord the other one the respect that he deserved, based on his particular level, then you fell short of honoring your fellow. Although he's a colleague, but you have to. That's the no kovzeh. Now the question is, why didn't it have that sensitivity? Right? Why? They should have been more sensitive. If they would have been sufficiently sensitive, they would have seen the differences, even though they were slight shades of difference. But they would appreciate the differences. So Reb Kiva felt it's a reflection on him, because when he communicated to them, they didn't revere him sufficiently. If you don't revere the Rebbe sufficiently, then you don't revere the Torah sufficiently. If you don't revere, that was the failing. So it was only after students passed away did he realize, evidently he was willing to let things go. Right? He was willing to let things go. But look how it manifested itself. The consequence was disastrous. 24,000 of his Talmidim passed away within the short period of time. Therefore, he came to that realization as Hashem Elokecha Tira. Simply you could say, that was his Masorah. Reb Kiva also had a Masorah. This is Shimon Amsuni. Doesn't say Reb Kiva was a student of Shimon Amsuni. It's an impossibility. Equate somebody to be the equivalent of God. Impossible. Definitely. No, you don't know. No. Again, Shimon HaMsuri wasn't aware of that Masorah. Who said they didn't say it? There are many things. Look, Avram Avinu studied the whole Torah in its entirety. Moshe Rabbeinu taught Torah. The Gemara says that all the discussions between Abai and Rava, Moshe Rabbeinu already communicated those at Sinai. But yet we attribute things to Abai and Rava, not to Moshe or not to other people. We're not saying it's not passed down. We have Tefillin Rabbeinu Tam, Tefillin of Rashi. When it started, the argument started with Rashi and Rabbeinu Tam. I mean, earlier. I mean, the Rush speaks about a case that where they had unearthed in time of the Gonim, a pair of tefillin from time of the Gonim, it was tefillin like Rabbeinu Tam. So it's a proof. You know, maybe Rabbeinu Tam, his tefillin are the correct order, whatever. He says, no, maybe they were puzzled. That's why they put it in the Geniza. That's what they said. Okay, he says no proof.
So I just I'm assuming very shortly also it's not if that doesn't sound like it's Masorah, it sounds like he's coming over to do an explanation for a puzzle. That's not from Masorah.
Not everything's Masorah. I mean, what's the difference between the Ashkenazic approach to the Sephardic approach, the Gonim? The Gonim still, they were part of the Masorah. Once the Rishonim came, it wasn't so simple. There was a Masorah. The Masorah was in question. So you had Masorah, but in the details, it was based on, like Rashi. Rashi is a commentator. It's the way Rashi processed and understood that was the basis for his psak. Maybe yes, maybe. I'm not saying yes, I'm not saying no. Do you know, Rabbi Akiva, there's certain people, you could bring something up and offer an interpretation, but it's rejected. When Rabbi Akiva presented something, you couldn't reject it. It wasn't simple to reject it. Rabbi Akiva disagreed with his teachers, with his rabbeim, even though he was a student, because he surpassed, even his teachers he surpassed. So, I mean, Rabbi Akiva is referred to in Sanhedrin as Okahorim B'tochen Zebazeh. He uprooted mountains and he grinded the mountains. That was his power of genius. It was something we can't even relate to. Okay, maybe yes, maybe no. Okay.
So I'm sorry. I just worked that if you have a puzzle and then a moral could come along and just say this is what the puzzle means.
As long as you don't have, definitely. Without a Masorah, as long as it conforms with the Yud Gimel Midas Torah and the Dreshes, and it's not contradictory to anything that exists in the Torah, in the Masorah. You know, there's a famous, the Orach Chaim Kodesh says in one location, he said things, even though Chazal don't interpret it this way, the Orach Chaim Kodesh says this. He says the Torah is open for interpretation, and as long as the interpretation doesn't contradict any Masorah or any Divrei Chazal, you have a right to interpret the Torah in such a manner, as long as it's a correct interpretation. I mean, you know, some people, they interpret the words because, you know, it's not really, it's really not what the Torah is saying. But if the words read as your insight in the words, it's an acceptable interpretation of the Torah. No, not doing Gzera Shava. Not Gzera Shava. There's not Gzera Shava. No. There's interpretation. It's an adjunct. What is the adjunct? Something which is the equivalent of Hashem. Hashem wants you to revere something other than himself at the same level. Who is that? So Rabbi Akiva says that's Talmidei Chachamim. It's not Gzera Shava, it's Halacha L'Mishmi Sinai. You can't make... Right. For instance, you have Kal V'chomer. Right? Kal V'chomer is one of the 13 methodologies we interpret Torah. You could have a Kal V'chomer and derive even today. Kal V'chomer, you're able to extrapolate through the Kal V'chomer and establish halacha. Or mematzinu, comparing one thing to another. Based on that principle, I compare it to this. Therefore, I apply that principle to something else. Okay. Egla Rufa. The Mishnah tells us a person's mekadosh on Egla Rufa. What is Egla Rufa? You find a corpse outside of a community, and the Zakanim, which are members of the Sanhedrin Gedolah, so the community has to be atoned, and they haven't located the murderer, the person who killed this man. He was murdered. They bring a calf, Egla, and they break its neck. Okay? So how do we know the Egla Rufa is Isur Hano? And therefore, if you Makadosh a woman with Egla Rufa, she's Eina Mukadeshes. They just dispose of it. They dispose of it. Does not be. I mean, it has to be disposed of respectfully. We'll see in a moment, because we'll see in a moment why it's Isur Hano. Possible, if you you just bury it, or you dispose of it, like throw it in the garbage. Somewhere says Minolon. I mean, one of the cases in the Mishnah is Basar B'cholav. Mekadosh Basar B'cholav Einu Mekudeshes, because Basar B'cholav is Yisur Hano. Omer Rabbi Yanai, Amri Dvei Rabbi Yanai was said in the Beison Rabbi Yanai, Kapor Ksivbo, Kekochim. When you bring the Egla Rufa, what does it do? It's a kapora. It atones for the community. What is kapora? Kapora is, where do we find the concept of kapora? That's kochim, something that's consecrated. So you see the Torah, although the Egla Rufa is not consecrated, it's not kochim. Nevertheless, the Torah, since it refers to it as kapora, just as kochim, monetarily you don't own the kochim, and you can't benefit from the kochim, you're not permitted. Identically, Egla Rufa, you're not permitted to benefit from it. Depends what it is. Depends what it is. The height of shlomim of Ola is given to the Kohanim. But that's based on psukim. That's all based on psukim. No, but I understand that. I understand that. What do you mean? No, Sharnis goes something else. No. We'll see in a moment. Firstly, when does it become an Egla Rufa? Is it when you take it down to the, or maybe if it's when you break its neck? Okay, so when you break its neck, maybe then we'll see. See, Pari Mitzora. Doesn't exist. Well, we'll discuss the next case. The birds of a Mitzora. It's also not in the base of Mikdash. It's outside. Right? You take two birds. This is part of the process to reinstate the Mitzora, the leper. You take two birds. One, it says you slaughter over water that was drawn from a living wellspring. And then you take the living bird together with two other things. You dip it into the water, sprinkle it on the Mitzora. Then you send the living bird out into the wild. So we'll discuss this. The bird that was slaughtered, are you permitted to benefit from? You're not permitted to benefit from it. And the bird, before you do this ritual, the living bird, are you permitted to benefit from? Because it says Tzipore Mitzora. The birds that were purchased for this ritual of the Mitzora. After you do the ritual, you send one into the wild. And when you send it to the wild, it becomes permitted. It's based on psukim why it's permitted. But until you send it into the wild, you're not permitted to benefit from it. No, even if you locate it. You put a band on its foot, on its, right now. You could benefit from it. You could eat it. It's an ordinary bird. No, the bird, first, no, it's not a question. First, it says explicitly the bird is permitted. The bird you send into the wild is permitted. It's only the bird that you slaughter, that you kill, that's the bird that you're not permitted by. But anyway, go after rove. Right, the majority of birds in the wild are not the birds that were sent into the wild. Whenever you're in question, you follow, right, the majority. Minolon. How do we know Tzipori Mitzora you're not permitted to benefit from? The Ton of Rabbi Shmuel. It says Machshir Mechapir B'fnim. Now, a Mitzora, one of the karbonos he has to bring is a nosham, a guilt offering. That's part of the reinstatement. That's to allow him to bring the other karbonos. He brings a number of karbonos, the Mitzora. So you bring the Osham, which is within the sanctuary. That's regular kochim. So we find Machshir Mechapim Bifnim. You find the Machshir, that it's a prerequisite for his reinstatement. That's the Osham Mitzora. And you find Mechapir. All karbonos are karbonos which atone. That's within the sanctuary. So we're equating the Machshir to the Mechapir. Then Machshir, Mechapir B'chutz. And we find a type of something that reinstates the person, mechaper. What's the mechaper b'chutz? That's degla rufa. We just said degla rufa. It's not done in the sanctuary. It's done outside the Beis Hamikdash. Well, and it's kapor. Kapor means that it atones, and therefore it has the same status as kochim. It's yisur ma machshim chaper bifnim osebo machshir ki mechaper. Just as the machshir, the Hashem Mitzorah, it's no different than any other korban brought in the Azorah, in the sanctuary, which you're not permitted to benefit from. The machshir is the equivalent of the animal that atones. Av machshir mechaper b'chutz. So when we speak about what reinstates the person, what atones for the person outside of the Beis Hamikdash, osba machshir ki mechaper. So what reinstates the person has the same status as the animal that atones for the person. So it has the same status as the Egla Rufa. So just as the Egla Rufa, we said, of course this is Kapora, we see it as Kochim, and you're not permitted to benefit from it. Identically, the Machshir, which is the bird, you're not permitted to benefit from. Kaddish.